24 million people are expected to fly this week. That means up to 2.5 million people a day will be moving through the nation's airports, and they're all facing new heightened TSA security measures. Jeremy Hubbard is at LaGuardia Airport with the latest this morning. Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, John. Despite a barrage of flyers from across the country now complaining of being groped and violated, the TSA isn't backing away from the new rules when it comes to airline passengers, but they have done an about-face with airline pilots, allowing them to now skip the controversial screeners and pat-downs.
It is a victory for the pilots who'd sued over the new security measures, calling them unnecessary and demeaning. But there is no such reprieve for the 24 million Thanksgiving week air passengers. We sent producers to 4 airports all across the country. At some, they wouldn't allow us to film the pat-downs, but look at this in Denver. Nothing, it seems, is left untouched. Still, from Southern California,
they had patted me down and that was about it.
To Texas.
If it keeps me safer, no problem.
To Illinois, the passengers we talked to were nearly unanimous about the new security measures.
I didn't have an issue today in terms of feeling like there was any invasion of privacy.
In fact, a poll earlier this month showed Americans resoundingly approve of the new body scanners, and the vast majority, some 84% of us, think they'll help stop terrorism. But striking a balance between security and privacy is proving difficult. And the chorus of complaints over the new pat-downs now stretches from Washington to the web.
If you touch my junk, I'm going to have you arrested.
Fueled by stories like Catherine Bossie's. She is a flight attendant and cancer survivor forced to take off her prosthetic breast during a TSA pat-down.
I was horribly shocked, yes, I was. I was embarrassed and, ashamed that I had cancer and that this was the way, I was being treated.
All across the country, passengers are left feeling vulnerable and violated, like this Ohio mom.
And then she went down to the bottom of my legs and moved up my inner thighs and touched my genital area. As a law-abiding American citizen mom traveling with her baby, I should not have been subject to that sort of a search.
Some horror stories indeed, but the TSA agents argue they're just doing their job, and in fact they are allowed under the new rules to use the back or front of their hand to pat down pretty much anywhere on your body. Breast, buttocks, thighs. They can even ask some women to go into a special screening area and take off their skirt and put on a special robe or gown for a pat down. Deanna?
All right, Jeremy, thank you. And here with us now is the first head of the TSA, John McGaugh. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the man who's currently at the helm of TSA, who said that this is being done for passengers' own good. Do you agree with that, especially when you hear these stories about cancer survivors, grandmothers, women having to disrobe, having to go through those kind of proceedings?
Well, absolutely, I agree. Let me just set the stage for a moment. Back a couple of years ago, we had the bomber that wore it underneath their clothing in the abdominal area and chest area. Then we had the liquid bombs, and then we had parts of bombs taken on planes by 2 or 3 different people that were going to try to put them together in the restroom. Then the shoe bomber. Now that shoe bomber, a lot of people have kind of scoffed at that. That bomb, had his socks not been wet, would have gone off, and we've lost that airplane. Now you have the groin bomber, an actual bomber that just failed because the chemistry was not quite right in it. Now, they've been weeks since that bomb took place, that bomber was apprehended, to develop a procedure to go through. So yes, I feel it's very important, but it has to be done. These TSA are professional people. They're your brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. They're dedicated to the security of this country. They're public servants, and they're very caring. And so it has to be done with courtesy. It has to be done in the proper manner, and that's why it's been 3 or 4 months in order to get this procedure in place. And with 35,000 people, are you going to have a few make mistakes? Yes.
Well, it sounds like a little more than a few, and I want to ask you about how they're trained to go through these procedures. One passenger told a local Arizona news station about her experience, and here she said, she ran her hand like this up in the inside of my leg, but she did it so rough and hard, she lifted my heels off the ground. Is that really necessary, and is that how they're trained?
No, absolutely not. That is not the way they're trained. They go up both sides of the leg to the bottom of the torso, and the same way on the other leg. And if something is felt there that is not doesn't meet their standards, then there's a further examination. And there's been some people try to get through that to see if you could find something there, and they have found it. So that thread is out there, and if we don't close it, then we're going to have another attempt.
I want to ask you about the X-ray machines because there is concern that the radiation could be dangerous for people who particularly travel quite frequently. Is there reason to be concerned?
Well, the tests were done, many tests by reputable laboratories, not only the TSA laboratory, but independent laboratories. And there's all kind of statistics that are available on the internet now that show what that exposure is. Now, if you were going through it every day, 2 or 3 times a day, then maybe over a period of years, you may have a problem. I'm not an expert in that area, but I know that the normal traveler, the person who travels 4 or 5 times a week, is not in any danger.
Quickly, I just want to ask you this last question because politicians are becoming involved as well. And one Florida congressman is suggesting that private sector should be stepping in place of the TSA. We are seeing that take place more and more airports across the country. Are they more effective?
You're not seeing it more and more. I mean, back when this law was first set up, that they had a choice. You had a very few airports. Now you have a few more smaller airports, but none of your major airports. It's still,
and do you predict that we will see it go on to major airports?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I believe that the professional staff that we have now is going to continue to do a great job for this country, and will be the best opportunity for us all to be safe.
All right, John McGaul, I'll have to leave it there. Thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.